This is a gambling podcast, and as such, I find it incumbent upon myself that I have to try to get our mojo going. So, Anthony Guerra, Pizza Czar of Raleigh, instead of recording on Thursday, and instead of recording together, we're in separate locations, separate cities on a new day. It's Friday. So I'm just trying to jumpstart our mojo. How does that sound to you?
I had to leave the confines of the Eford studio. I love the Eford studio. I don't know. I'm going to blame Joe's lava lamp for my poor gambling output last week.
I think maybe you were distracted last week. I think you were under the weather too. So you have some other things going on. I get it, man. It happens to all of us.
Yep.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
In the grand tradition of clerks, not even supposed to be here today. It's Friday. All right, let's share the bad news from last week because, man, we were on the bus. I mean, I went 2-3, and I felt disgusted by my 2-3. You went 1-4, and again, the Jets continue to vex me at every single turn. So I'm 22-21 on the year. You are 22-20-1. If you win this competition because of a tie between the Chargers and Lions, I am going to be very upset. Very upset.
I mean, are we going to look back at every Chargers game this year after last night? Like, I look back at it like, what happened? Why?
Yeah. I mean, I cashed the Broncos tickets last week because they were playing the Chargers. I've been saying for multiple weeks in a row that team has quit on their coach. I can't believe we woke up 9:00 Eastern time and Brandon Staley is still employed by the Chargers after losing last night and giving up 63 points to a team, not with Tom Brady playing quarterback, not with even Derek Carr playing quarterback.
Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, and a team that had scored exactly 0 points the previous week.
Joey.
Huh? What?
I don't understand. I'm shocked the guy had a job. There's going to be some great stories from that locker room in the offseason. Something's got to be going on. Bosa doesn't seem like a chill guy. None of the Bosas do.
No.
I can't imagine this is going over well. I would hire him as the head coach right now. I'd rather him be the head coach. Get Staley out of there.
Bosa?
Player, do something. Get him out.
Oh, man. I mean, I don't get it. I totally don't get it. So, let's do the same thing this week. We'll go for the supersized 5. We'll have 5 bets this week. You're going to go for 2 of those as props. I'm going all 5 bets. Do you want to start with the Jets or end with the Jets?
Let's start with the Jets.
Okay.
Jets.
As I've mentioned, the Jets live to vex me. Now they're messing with my fantasy league money because they injured CJ Stroud last week. Great call by you. By the way, you said the rookie quarterback would struggle with the Jets defense. Sure enough, he had potentially his worst game of the year. So
great year, but the Jets defense is too much.
Why the Jets suddenly up and decided to play football last week? I'm slightly confused. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like that one caught me off guard. Okay?
Shocking.
Yeah. Especially after they didn't score in the first half. Again, it's not like they came out lighting the world on fire.
Second half he did. I don't know what was in. Maybe it was like a Space Jam situation where he had this special water bottle at half.
So Jets beat
Robert Sala's speech.
Jets beat the Texans 30-6 as a home dog last week. They're now on the road. They go to the Dolphins, a completely decimated Dolphins team. Your boy A-Chain banged up again, losing your prop for you last week.
I had that going first half there. I had that going. 47 yards in the first half on a couple of carries. He's averaging 15 a touch.
They lose to the Titans in a Monday night doubleheader where I was watching the Giants game. I'm not going to lie to you. So I didn't watch any of it. I know Tyreek Hill got banged up, and they are squarely in the territory of who exactly is left who's going to play for them? The Dolphins. This number's 9.5. Man, I'm really falling victim to the last thing I saw, but I'm going Jets.
With the points?
Yeah, I'm going to take the points.
Take the points. No, I'm going the same way as you. I think the Dolphins last week, that fourth quarter was one of the worst clock management situations I've seen, period. You were up 2 touchdowns and you lose a game. I mean, to Will Levis?
To the Titans, it's not like you let a good team rally on you. I mean, it's weird that the Dolphins should be playing for the number 1 seed in the AFC. I mean, they're still in play at 9-4, but it's like you can't give away home games where you have a double-digit lead. And they had won the previous 3 games, but you look at who they beat: the Raiders, the Jets, and the Commanders. Like they're beating a lot of bad teams this year. And I normally push back when people point those things out, but at some point, and I get it, the Jets aren't good, and then they get them this week. There might be a little bit of a look ahead here, Anthony, because Miami closes the year with Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo. The Dallas and Buffalo games are at home, so I'm going to invoke the why would the Dolphins care enough to just beat the snot out of the Jets in this football game, especially when they just saw them 2 weeks ago in a Timmy Boyle special.
Oh God, Timmy B, baby,
the Hail Mary.
The fail Mary. No, I think the Jets usually win these games, Joe, because this is where they mess up the whole franchise and not get the top draft pick and just tank out the year. Like this is the game they win, oddly, to give you some level of hope. I'm betting on that because just historically, they make you look and go, maybe they're not that bad.
And I don't know if they're bad enough to be in the Marvin Harrison Jr. competition. So it's almost like, fine, just do what you're gonna do and mess, like you said, mess it up, give us false hope. Just do the whole thing. It's fine.
I'm actually going to tag in another bet on this one.
Yeah, you're going to go with one of your 2 props. You're going with your guy here, aren't you?
My guy. I'm rolling with him. I want to roll with him. The number is very low, 177.5.
Okay. This is Zach Wilson's passing.
Zach Wilson pass yards.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he goes back to being a toad again, but he ripped the ball last week. And I tell you what, I like the comment from him. He said, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to bench me again? Throw the football, bro. Let's go. Throw it.
This is a prop you actually won against the Dolphins defense 2 weeks ago when you got Tim Boyle to hit a very low over. Career high 301 passing yards from Zach Wilson last week. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, I don't hate it because Wilson's numbers have been in the 200s other than the Buffalo disaster. So I think you get back on track here with the Zach Wilson the Zach Wilson passing yards. All right, let's go to you know what, Anthony? I want winners.
I want winners.
Do you know who's been winning for me? My boy, Russell Wilson. I have been on the Broncos the last few weeks. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. They are that frisky team at the end of the year. They actually have I hate to say legitimate, but it does feel like they have a legitimate chance to actually catch the Chiefs, who continue to play with their food, to actually win the division. Now would take winning a few more games. But I actually like them this week. I like the points, 4.5 at the Lions. The Lions I lost on last week. We've both been burned. I feel like we both have bet against the Lions. They've only lost 4 games, and 2 of those have been when we've been involved with the Lions. But I think they're fraudulent. You can't be a contender and think you can't beat the Bears. The Bears.
Gross.
Really? But
no, you have a theory. To historically win, you got to have the right guys who know how to close out a year. Not just, oh, good, we're happy to be here. We're happy to have 9 wins if you're the Lions. You got to close out the year. They're going to finish. You don't want some middle of the road. You got a great shot. Win the games. Win the games you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it, though.
Yeah, I like the points here. Broncos are frisky. I like the way that they're playing. Obviously, they've improved since giving up 70 points to the Dolphins on defense. They've kind of been a different team ever since then. Sometimes it takes being humbled like that and completely embarrassed before you turn to a coach and say, "Fine, we'll do it your way."
Sean
Since he's
Payton,
not
coach of the
listening,
year.
I mean, he's got to be on the short list. Although, according to him, the guy before him was so bad that we can't use that as a standard. Going back to those preseason comments about Hackett, which I still don't
Hackett
know.
is that bad. I agree with Payton. He's right.
Terrible.
He's terrible.
No, there.
I don't understand.
Well,
Listen, I only played Madden occasionally.
right.
I'm a better offensive coordinator than him, no doubt.
Be interesting to see how some of these awards shake out. I think Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP, but we do seem to be averse to giving it to somebody that's not a quarterback. Coach of the year, I mean, it would be hard. You can make the argument for Mike McCarthy. You can make the argument for Sean Payton, depending on how this thing plays out. You can make the argument for Harbaugh. I mean, there's many a different way. How about the Browns without their quarterback? I mean, they quietly have the best defense in the NFL. They also have some of the best wins this year for any particular team, and they've done it with PJ Walker and DTR from UCLA, and now Joe Flacco. I mean, they've just kind of pieceworked this thing. I don't know how the NFL voting typically goes. I know in college, in the ACC in particular, it goes by, well, what were our preseason expectations of you and what are you now? Which I absolutely abhor. So hopefully it won't go, but normally it doesn't go by that in the NFL. But we'll see how this thing shakes out. I kind of laughed last week watching the Rams and the Ravens. We were on opposite sides of that game, and I knew Lamar Jackson was going to lead them to a win in that last possession. And all I kept thinking about was the Panthers didn't want this guy. Okay. The Colts didn't want this guy. They'd rather roll the dice with an unknown than trade a draft pick for this guy. All because he didn't play 4 games last year because he was basically in a contract dispute with them. Like, what?
He doesn't play the position beautifully, but he wins games.
Not textbook. It's not textbook. He's arguably the best athlete in the NFL, though.
I mean,
doesn't that get you something?
I mean, watching Tim Boyle play. Yeah, how much money you want? I'll give you whatever you want, Lamar. Here.
Well, speaking I said the Bears had piped me last week. I'm going back to the well. I'm going to go against them again because I am going to go with the Browns. I think they win with defense. They've also now figured out, like you said about Joe Flacco, we'll just let it rip, man. He does not care. He is not check down Charlie. He is let's toss this thing down the field. And if it's an arm punt, it's an arm punt. So what?
He is our generation's Vinny Testaverde.
Yes.
That's who he is. Vinny, just rip it. 3 INTs, I don't care. I'm still throwing. Which is actually my prop bet on piggyback. I do like the Browns in this game. I do like Flacco a lot. The sports book somehow only has Joe Flacco in a 0.5 INT situation. I'll take the over. Joe Flacco, there's 2 things. He throws the football down the field, and then he throws it to the other team. Give me that one.
Yeah, I mean, he slings it, man.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
311 yards last week. He had 254 against the Rams the previous week. To your point, interceptions in both of those games. So if the pattern holds there, you get the you'll cash your other prop this week. So you have 2 props, and I have the Browns there. I am going to go with a Saturday game. It is officially that time of the year, Anthony. People will trot out the Mike Tomlin stat. I know there's some fire from Ben Roethlisberger about from all people. Did you hear the comments from Ben Roethlisberger about how the Steeler tradition is dead? And he was just basically taking a blowtorch to his former coach. Did you catch any of that this week?
I did not. Ben Roethlisberger, not necessarily the highest integrity gentleman in the league or ever played the league. No, he's out now. I don't want to hear anything from him, to be honest. I need Big Ben to stay quiet about tradition.
Yeah, well, this is Mike Tomlin's 18th year in the NFL. As most people know or are aware of by now. He's never had a losing record. So the Steelers are 7-6. He's going to need 2 more wins on the year to keep that very impressive streak going. And I just see a game against the Colts as one of those games that they always win. And plus now getting badmouthed by Big Ben, our friend Brooke Pryor was like, yeah, that was not received really well by the players in the locker room. And I get it. I mean, they lost to an awful Patriots team on Thursday, and that's coming off of the heels of a terrible loss to a terrible Arizona team. This is a classic Mike Tomlin game. They close with the Colts, Bengals, Seahawks, Ravens. So they need to win 2 of those 4. And 3 of them are on the road. You got to figure this is one of them that they figure out a way to win. And this opened as a favorite, as a road favorite. Now it's the Steelers plus 1.5. So I actually feel pretty good about this one.
I should win the game. Joe, I'm going to take I'm going into Carolina with this bet.
Okay.
Give me Atlanta.
You realize they're terrible, and we really haven't been hammering them this year.
No, I feel like that we have left them alone, and I feel like that's a mistake. I want to take advantage this week. Atlanta's going in, not a great team, but a better team. At least they have a quarterback, some sort of offense that they're running. Carolina's got none of that. -3 Falcons.
Panthers are an NFL worst 2-9-2 against the number this year. That's nearly impossible, because the goal, if you don't know, for when they set these lines, they don't necessarily want to win or lose. They want to break even. They want to have enough action on each side that it squares off and they don't lose money. And their goal is basically to have every NFL team be 9-8 or 8-9 against the number, because you got to adjust and you can't let people figure out trends, which gamblers love to try to do. Boy, that NFC South, Anthony, you got Tampa, Atlanta, and the Saints all at 6-7, all deeply flawed teams. And it just makes what the Panthers are doing in real life, 1-12, that much more embarrassing for David Tepper and what they're doing down in Charlotte. Like, the division is straight garbage. How are you 1-12 in that division? Like, that's the part that's galling, actually.
Can we, I'm voting that I know that the NFL is going to play a game in Brazil in a couple of years. Joe, did you see that?
I saw that.
Maybe we could go live from Brazil. Maybe the podcast can get us there.
Oh, yeah.
You seem like a big Sao Paulo guy. Where are you going? What
see if I can get our sponsors to kick in a few dollars. Maybe we can make that work.
We're talking to Josh Goodson. I feel like he's the guy. But no, I actually, instead of going internationally, instead of adding a European team, can we start relegating? So these teams stink. They should be kicked down. This is terrible. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing for the sport. It's bad. 1-12 Panthers stink. Would you trade right now? Would you rather have Will Levis than your guy Bryce Young? If you could undo or redo?
I understood. Yeah, I understood the premise of what they were trying to do. I was always a CJ Stroud is the best quarterback in the draft class. I was on that from the time that Stroud played against Georgia in the playoff game. It's just, you're asking so much, but now he is the only asset they have. So you have to now hire somebody who's going to try to salvage what he can do, because it's not a Zach Wilson situation where you go out and get somebody else, because there's pieces around. Like, even on the Jets roster, they have talented players. The Panthers have no talent at all. Like, it's appalling what their roster looks like, other than Burns. Like, everyone else on that team is pretty much garbage. Or
actually, I have Burns as the only asset on the team.
Yeah,
I think Bryce Young is. I think you're going to find. I'm not sure that he's a player, and I don't think he's ever going to be one.
But given what they gave up for him, I think they at least have to figure out this next season, 24 season, to say, all right. And it's early, but it gets late early, man, in the NFL, because when you make mistakes like that, sometimes it's better to recognize them and move on than it is to stay on them and sit there and think, well, I could turn it around if only this, if only that. One of the arguments I have with Ovius about Bryce Young is because he's like, well, you got to put the right coach, right players. I'm like, yeah, you're describing every quarterback who's ever taken a snap in the NFL right now, maybe other than Tim Boyle. Like, yes, you mean if they have Tyreek Hill and because he talking about Low a lot. Yeah, guess what? If I had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Mostert and a great play caller, I think pretty much everybody you put in that situation is going to excel.
And the offensive line is really strong for them too.
Yeah,
good for the Dolphins.
And that's the big thing for the Panthers is they used to be able to draft at the top. Their first round picks, Marty Herney did a great job forever. Like for all of their problems, they almost always got the first round pick correct. And now you go back to you look at Ike Ekwonu 2 years ago now, and you're like, well, that was a miss. And now you're looking at Bryce Young going, it's going to take a lot of work just to make this salvageable. And you have no assets because of all of the picks they traded away for Sam Darnold and Matt Corral and what was the other quarterback that they ended up bringing? Oh, Baker Mayfield. They gave away a lot of draft assets. And then, of course, everything that they gave up to get Bryce Young. So
maybe Sammy Darnold, baby. As a Jets fan, I love Carolina. I can't wait to see what they're going to offer for Zach Wilson. I want a 300-yard game out of Wilson today, and then I think Tepper's giving up another second-round pick for him.
In a twist of fate, maybe the Bears the Bears do get the Panthers pick, and they use it on a quarterback. So maybe they cut Justin Fields, and the Panthers go back and correct Matt Rule's mistake of not taking Justin Fields. How's that sound for poetry and some symmetry as a way to save the Panthers franchise?
I think Fields you could work with Fields. I'd be surprised to move on so fast. I would trade down personally. I'd take one of those picks, trade down, and acquire a bunch of stuff.
And you're implying that the Bears are smart. Now the Bears weaseled the Panthers for DJ Moore, the picks that they got.
Oh, gosh,
but I think at a certain point comes where you just have to use the assets that you have. And I think that's next year for the Bears. They've pushed it down the road too far. I think you take Caleb Williams, you take Drake May, whichever one you find is the better one. You take them. You take a receiver. You're not going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. He'll go second or third because their pick is going to be – the Bears have been feisty the last 5 weeks or so. So they're going to have a top 10 pick, and you take the second best receiver off the board or third best receiver, and you pair him with the new quarterback, and then you let Fields go.
Joe, did you see the number the Marvin Harrison might go back to school because Ohio State, the boosters are offering him comparable NFL money to come back for one more year?
I saw that. I don't believe it.
$20 million annually.
Yeah.
Is that how much money is going around?
There's a lot of fake reporting in college football in the NIL world, which, as you know,
it's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is?
Fugazi. It's a fake.
Yeah, fugazi. It's a wazi. It's a woozy. It's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist.
It's not real. It's not real. I saw the tweet about that, and I was like, that's not real. First of all, even $20 million is not what you're going to make in the NFL, and you need to start your clock, and you need to start cashing those checks at some point. This isn't Oscar Schwebe and Armando Bacot staying in college basketball, or Sam Hartman staying in college football because he's not going to make money in the NFL. Like, you're the number 2 pick in the draft, maybe number 1. I mean, if Arizona ends up with the worst record, now it's going to be really hard for the Panthers not to end up with the worst record. But, I could see Arizona sticking with Kyler Murray and taking Harrison. I could see something like that happening, but
I don't like the noise about Kyler Murray. I would move on from him. The off-the-field stuff.
He doesn't pay attention, doesn't do his homework.
Yeah, doesn't study, doesn't follow the game. Yeah, if any of that's true, I'm out on him.
All right, before we get...
It's amazing to me how bad these teams are at drafting guys. You you got to figure that out early. It's shocking how many times that's done wrong.
I agree. It's hard, man. Before we get to our last picks and then our Oakwood Pizza Box pizza question of the week, just a reminder, wings over Raleigh, wings over Chapel Hill, wings over Greenville. They have the best wings in North Carolina. Our wings are better than your wings. Order online. Go to Hillsborough Street right there across from University Towers. Free parking in the back. So order online at wingsover.com. Whenever you say you punch it in, it's ready. Ryan's crew always on point. So get your wings for all of it, because now we got the NFL on Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday from now until the end of the year. So we got a lot of football in front of us. And I don't know about you, but I love to eat wings when I watch games, when I sit on my chair, drink a beer and eat some wings. So go to wingsover.com. Let's get to our last pick of the week. I am going to go with the Monday night game. I'm going the Eagles, coming off of 2 losses to really good teams. I think they bounce back on the road. This number seems off to me. The Eagles -3 at Seattle. I don't think Seattle is feisty. I don't think they're any good. I know they're much better at home. It'll be loud there, all those things, but this feels like an Eagles walkover to me.
They need to wake up. That's a good bet. I was staring at that game. They have to wake up and win some games. I'm actually going to correct my ills of last week.
There you go.
Best team in the league, San Francisco. They're laying a bunch of points. They're on the road, but they're playing the abysmal Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, you're down on the Cardinals.
They lost to Tommy Cutlets, Joe. You lose to if Tommy Cutlets puts an L on you, oh my God, that's bad.
Can we talk a little bit about Tommy Cutlets, since I actually watched the game this week? He's
break down your performance. Is Tommy Cutlets in the league next year or what? What do you think?
I think so. If nothing else, he's the Giants' backup. Gets the ball out of his hand quickly, because in college he was scarred by the worst offensive line perhaps in the last 50 years in college football at Syracuse. But he gets the ball out quick. He moves around. He's not the most talented guy in the history of the world, obviously. But I like his decision making, and of course, I think I'm required as an Italian from New Jersey to say I enjoy his moxie in the way that he kind of aggressively plays the game. So I was surprised. I'm not going to lie to you. The last time I saw him was it at Carter Finley Stadium, I think. That was the last time I saw him. He was just getting his brains beat in by State. And I was like, oh, this poor guy. But he's figured some things out. I was impressed. I had to admit it to my friend. All of my friends up there are Giants fans. So I was kind of like, this guy's terrible. Like I kept saying, this guy's terrible. They're like, he's really not that bad, Joe. And I was like, all right, fine. I'll watch the Packers game. The poor Packers, they're fraudulent as hell. So
love is fraudulent. Good job by Dable, though. Let's give Brian Dable credit. I mean, a quarterback whisperer of sorts. You know,
pulling that thing out of the fire.
But
yeah, but he's also costing themselves a draft pick. Speaking of teams costing themselves, that's their draft pick. You know, they would be better off losing games.
I get that stance, but I mean, I think the Giants needed to not look like they needed to win some games. You got to do some stuff.
We had a huge response to our North Carolina basketball talk last week, so let's throw in a bonus pick here, because Tar Heels taking on Kentucky on Saturday. No official line out, but the Ken Palm number is Kentucky -2. This game is down in Atlanta, where good things usually don't happen to the Tar Heels. What says you, Anthony?
Wow, -2. I didn't think about this. Give me.
No,
I would take
Heels -2. Yeah, the Heels -2.
Heels -2. I like the Heels in this. I'll take the Heels.
Me too.
I like the Heels. I think Kentucky's one of those teams. They could look great at stretches, and then you just watch guys just jack the ball up. If the shot's not falling, they start. You know, They're a tough team. And I thought Wagner would be better, honestly, for Kentucky. It'll be interesting to see if he turns around and becomes dominant. Because I remember his father was dominant. Unbelievable scorer of the basketball.
I remember his grandfather being a key player on a national championship team. This has got, there's some interesting subplots here. Rob Dillingham obviously had committed to NC State and ends up at Kentucky. I don't like Kentucky when they're not in their building. So even though bad things almost always happen in Carolina, in Atlanta, I don't like that part of the mojo. But I would take the Heels -2 in this game. They haven't played since the UConn game. I like that little extra practice in basketball more so than other sports. I feel like it gives you a little time to regroup and refresh and get all those things going. Plus, Kentucky already lost to UNC Wilmington this year.
John Calipari's alma mater. Maybe he was trying to,
Maybe he was laying down for him. This is like when Arkansas. This feels like the Arkansas game where everyone's like, "Oh, Arkansas is going to lose because Arkansas Duke." I mean,
Arkansas Duke. That stadium was rocking. Duke was shook. And I tell you what, I'm going to hang a word on Duke. It's a word you never want to hear about your squad. They're soft.
Duke.
They are soft.
Yeah. This is what I meant with Arkansas was UNC Greensboro beat Arkansas. So people are like, "Oh, well, Arkansas is gonna, they'll beat Carolina." It's like, no, dude, Carolina. If they lost to UNC Greensboro, Carolina's gonna go in there. And I know there was an injury. It just feels very similar to that because people are like, "Oh, UNCW beat Kentucky." It's like, okay, just all games are kind of independent of each other. Is what I'm getting at. Like, let's just slow down a little bit when it comes to such things.
If there was such a thing as a good loss, that UConn game was a good loss for Carolina.
Nice slate, early season slate here. We got State, Tennessee Saturday. We also have Clemson, Memphis. So it's some interesting basketball. SMU,
Tennessee's
Florida
good.
State in a preview of SMU joining the league. So looking forward to some hoops this weekend. Definitely.
I like Dalton Connect. That kid can score. You watch him play. He's
Tennessee.
Fill it up.
He did. State really, 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 really needs this one for their NCAA tournament resume. If they don't get it, I worry. So I'll put it that way. All right, let's get to the Oakwood Pizza Box. Pizza question of the week. This one is from Kitty on Instagram. Kitty wants to know, Anthony, how do you make your meatballs for pizza? Are they homemade? Do you crumble them? Do you ball them up and then cook them? Or do you just throw chopped meat on a pan and cook it?
All right, so we do make them in-house. We always make them in-house. We make them we actually cook them as a ball. I never really thought to not cook it as a ball.
Okay.
It feels wrong. It doesn't feel like a meatball if it's not balled.
Right. But you make your sausage that way.
That's crumbled. Yeah.
Crumbled.
Sausage really crumbled.
Okay.
Meatballs are just sort of torn.
Okay.
Sort of randomly
you
torn.
Ball them, but you don't slice them. Like some places slice their meatballs, put it on the pizza, go from there.
I'm not a sliced meatball guy. That's like a weird shape. It looks like a meatloaf or something on
I don't disagree. So you'll ball up your meat, make a ball. There's breadcrumb, cheese, maybe some parsley. What do you got?
Yeah, parsley's in there, salt, pepper, garlic, onion. They're all beef for me. Yeah, I keep. Yeah, cook them.
You don't put any sausage or any other.
No pork. No pork. But that's more of a dietary thing. There's a lot of dietary restrictions. Pepperoni is pork and beef.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to have just a straight beef option in case somebody wanted to avoid pork.
Okay.
If I was cooking them at home, I would definitely use pork.
And those things, how quickly do they cook in the pizza oven, the meatballs?
8 minutes, less.
I need
7, 8 minutes. Oven. Yeah.
I love a pizza oven.
Man.
What would you do with a pizza oven in your house? Like, is that even feasible, plausible?
Not really.
Not really, right?
You don't have you need an upgraded gas line. Like you need to have you'd have to like upgrade your gas service. Wood fire oven, yeah, definitely. A lot of people have that.
You don't. Yeah, no.
But I wouldn't. I the gas deck oven like I have. You would need to upgrade your gas line. It's a disaster.
Okay. Well, we'll just stream about that another day then. So meatballs cooked, then you break them apart.
Then break them. Yep.
Put them on the pizza. My new favorite is meatballs with sausage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that the new Julio special?
Well, last couple of weeks with Ken, it's been meatball sausage. And I think we added either onion or green pepper last week. It was good.
A little crunch, a little snap.
Yeah, just a little
Freshness.
breakup. A little breakup in there. It was good. And
I will not be there today. So enjoy lunch.
I know. I don't. You throw me off my routine. I just sometimes I can't handle it.
I don't know what to do with myself when I am not at work, so it's very odd for me as well.
Well, you grip it tight, man. You grip it tight. It happens. It happens. Yeah. So, what are you doing in Charleston? Do you want to tell the people, or
I have a
skull and bones session with your friends?
Oh yeah, well, hanging out with Roger Ayers and the referees down here.
Nice.
Try to get some good stories. I felt like it was good. I tried to get them on the podcast, but not surprisingly, maybe a little resistant to getting on the air, staying off the record.
Yeah, that's best for them.
But they called a very clean game here at the College of Charleston. Clean game last night. Great job by the refs. No controversies at all.
You and the refs. All right. Well, when you come back, maybe we'll go to the St. Louis game. It's the 20th. It's a Wednesday.
I'm working on my calls. 1-1 right there. Bang.
Somebody's got to replace Jamie Lucky. So you
listen.
Get back out there.
What I've noticed is that there is an inefficiency. A lot of these refs are getting very old.
Yes.
As somebody who is not very old yet, maybe there's an opening.
There you go. I'll put in a good word for you, even though probably Tommy could help you more than I could. But I feel like Kersey likes me. I mean, some people don't. You know how that goes. Believe it or not. I mean,
Keats is a fan already. I feel like Keats would put me on a couple games. I feel like
until you called too many touch fouls on the big boy.
Oh God, the worst defender of all time in the history of the ACC.
Oh, come on.
You would be hard pressed to find the worst defender ever.
Come on.
No, I mean you really can't.
Show a little respect for the big boy. He's working on it.
DJ Burns, great in the post.
Pete Nance was worse than him last year. So
no way.
Yeah, dude. Yes, he was awful.
Nance was like a baby giraffe, but
he was terrible. He was terrible on defensive end. So there's that. All right, man. Let's hopefully this new mojo helps us go 4-1 this week. I would like that. I'll take that.
I'll keep going remote in order to right the ship here.
There you go. I like that thought process. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, follow button. And if you're on podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google's, you name it. And of course, Wednesday through Sunday, Oakwood Pizza Box, oakwoodpizzabox.com. Order there or go there in person on Person Street and check out the best pizza there is in North Carolina. See you next week.